Hello everyone, Ben here and welcome back to another ranked RaceRoom session. This time we're in the Hillclimb Icons at Spa. I'll say a little bit more about the car class, but we are already underway, so our eyes need to be on the live action. We're starting in 10th place and we're into a very crowded first corner here at Spa. We just about keep it clean, and actually we've jumped a bunch of cars there up into 7th place. I've got a driver on my right hand side and I do not fancy like going through Eau Rouge and Radian side by side, so I get off the accelerator and just settle in behind him and try and get into his slipstream on this opening lap. Cold tyres and brakes, so I've got to be mindful of that as we head into the braking zone at the end of the Camel Straight here, so just give it a little bit more margin. We close up on the rear wing of the car ahead, but actually we don't end up getting close enough to have a look down his inside. We've got then just about half a second up to JVB up ahead of us, and about 1.5 seconds to the driver behind. But up ahead you can see then that there is a move being made by the looks of it, with JVB getting around Blatcher. We're going to have a little look down his inside too on what is turning into a very busy opening lap in these very exciting cars. We're coming through Pouhon, but we get slightly wide. That's going to be an off track, but we don't get a slowdown penalty. It does mean though that we've dropped slightly back from the car ahead. Just about 4 tenths now. We get much deeper into the brakes than he does though, coming into the right left as we get towards the end of this opening lap. We've got a better exit too, so we're going to get down on the brakes hard into the inside of the corner, and that then gives us 6th position. More vying for position just up ahead of us though, between 4th and 5th. They're side by side coming onto the back straight. Where are we going to fit into all of this? There's nowhere really for us to go. They get some door-to-door action going on as well, so I don't really want any part of that, but I do have a car behind me as well, so I've just got to be a little bit careful that I don't ease off too much in not wanting to get involved in any scrapping up ahead of me that might cause me to lose a position. Into the bus stop chicane for the first time, get the car turned in nice and tight and across the start finish line to end our first lap. And wow, what a first lap. We've made a number of positions. We're sitting nicely in 6th place. We've got 5th and 4th just ahead of us. And although we don't get the best run through the first corner there, it looks as if the car behind us got an even worse run. So we've dropped about half a second, 3/4 of a second to the car ahead, but we do have quite a nice gap back to 7th position. So we can now just take a bit of stock, think about then our game plan for the rest of the race, and before we do that, let's take a little look back at the action from that opening lap. Unfortunately, you'll see immediately one of the problems with commentating on replay footage in this race is that everybody's got the same livery. There's only a single livery, I think, for both cars in this Hillclimb Icons class, so it's very hard to understand what on earth was going on through that first corner. Just know that we were in the middle of it, making up a good number of positions. We then duck out of going side by side through a Rouge there, and as the field spreads out a little bit, it's a bit easier to identify which car we are. There we go. So we then powering down the Camel Straight. You can see all up and down the field there's cars going side by side. We're thinking about making a move, but we're not really going to be close enough, so we just hit the apex, make sure that we're cleanly through the corner, we don't lose the back end on cold tyres. In the back of the shot there, you could see cars having to take to the escape road. But that's not something that's going to have to concern us, as we've got our eyes forward at this point, as there's an overtaking move taking place just up the road from us. We're going to just hang back. We don't want to get caught up in any accident that might take place if they make contact, and then we're going to try and pounce here as the driver who's just been overtaken got a poor exit there from the corner with no name. Into Pouhon, we drift slightly wide here, so we're going to get right up beyond the curb. No slowdown penalty though, thankfully, and then it's just really about trying to line up a move into the final part of this lap. We close in very nicely through the right hander here. We're going to get a better run through the left hander, and that's then going to allow us to dart to the inside here, be bold, commit to the move, and thankfully he gives us plenty of space to do so. We're going to come around then onto the back straight, and you can see the cars up ahead of us banging doors as we come now down at a ridiculous speed. A huge accident could have happened there. Thankfully, everybody stayed pointing in the right direction. We felt discretion was the better part of honour here. We didn't think about going 3 wide. It was all just about trying to maintain position here and pick up any pieces that we could, or at least react to any accidents that took place in good time. And then through a very crowded bus stop chicane comes the entire pack, and you'll see then in the rear of the shot a couple of cars having offs, none more spectacular than this. Car managing to flip it on the sausage curb at the bus stop chicane, and then rather wonderfully just carrying on with his day. Speaking of which, we're now 5 minutes into this race. We're another couple of laps in. We've basically held station with the cars up ahead of us. We're trying to close in on the back of JVB. Vanny has made his way past Thompson up into 3rd place, so there's been a change of order there. But by and large, we're all running very close together. Really, I haven't had much of an opportunity to try and stick a move on JVB. I've been around 3/4 of a second behind him pretty consistently. The tyres have come up to temperature, but the wear, maybe it's psychological, I don't know, because the tyre graphic doesn't show it as too dramatic. But I was finding the car progressively more challenging to drive, a little bit less responsive, a little bit slower on turn-in, a bit more understeer, and I don't know whether that's due to tyre wear or whether temperatures were just beginning to get a little bit too hot. Either way, you'll see through the footage in the remainder of this race that I'm running a bit more wide on corner exit. I'm struggling to get into the apex and corner entry. There's a good example of it right there. I suppose the alternative is I'm just trying to push too hard, essentially, to keep pace with the cars up ahead, so I'm just carrying a little bit too much speed into corners, and that's compromising my exit. But it did feel as if the car had just changed a little bit, certainly from qualifying and also from the early stages of the race. Nevertheless, despite those challenges, we're managing to keep a good gap to the cars ahead, and I'm now really hoping that they start directly engaging in a bit more fighting and I can get brought into the mix a little bit more. We try and get on the brakes as late as we can into the first corner, but really this stage of the race was all just about trying to close that gap, which was, as I say, quite stubborn, to the cars ahead, and unfortunately I wasn't really able to do it at this point. I mean, we get a decent enough run through Eau Rouge and Radion there, but not enough to really close in towards the end of the Camel Straight. One more lap later though, and things do start to get a bit more interesting and a few more opportunities start presenting themselves. So we're coming down again into the entry to Eau Rouge. You can see the pack is still pretty well close together for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, and we definitely get a better run than JVB out of that corner. So we're going to be closing now into his draft. You can see the closing speed is really significant. He comes to the inside to defend. We're going to get as late on the brakes as we can and then try and cut back on him, but look at that, he parks on the apex, quite within his rights to do it. There's nowhere for us to go, even though we were carrying more corner speed there, and we have to back off. But that is quite encouraging. It's the closest we've been in this race so far to being able to put a move on the car up ahead. Thompson and Vanny remain really close together on track, so they're still fighting up ahead, but for the time being my focus is purely on getting up into 5th position. Blatcher behind us, who you remember we overtook on the first lap, he's maintained 7th position, but he's a good 6.5 seconds back from us now, so he's dropped right the way back. We don't have to worry about pressure from behind for the remaining 3rd of this race. You can see though, as we're coming now into the last sector of this current lap, just how similar the pace is between myself, JVB, Thompson and Vanny. We're basically running with really consistent gaps from one another at this point, although it does look, just looking up the road, as if Vanny might have broken slightly clear of Thompson through the mid sector of this lap. But we're going to have another opportunity coming up into the heavy braking zone of the bus stop chicane. We run wide there, we just about avoid an off track, and we managed to maintain our pace. We're going to get late on the brakes and we all concertina back up together again, and you see just how close together we are really when we slow down into corners like that. We're going to cross the start finish line again. I'm sensing a bit of an opportunity, so I'm going to try and get on the brakes late, duck to the inside. It's a little bit of a dive bomb, to be fair. We do back out of it soon enough to not cause a serious collision and accident, and I make sure that I don't run alongside JVB, because frankly I didn't earn the move there. It was a little bit impetuous as I was getting impatient, stuck behind him, but we do get a better run through Eau Rouge, so I am now really thinking about getting alongside him into the braking zone at the end of the Kemmel Straight. I can't really see what's happening up ahead, but I'm going to come to the inside of the corner. He's coming to the inside as well, and he actually makes a move on Thompson, so we have to get out of it. I'm going to try and follow him through, but unfortunately we get blocked off on the apex by Thompson. And just as I was trying to get a move done on JVB, he's actually promoted himself up into 4th place. We were showing to the inside there to see if we could get down the inside of the hairpin on Thompson, but unfortunately we couldn't, and we have to think better of it this time around. We do get a better exit though from the corner with No Name. We're going to try and show to the inside, but I can't make that work either this lap, so we just get on the brakes into Pouhon. I don't want to run into the back of the car ahead, and then basically at this stage I'm not really anticipating being able to make a move, although I do push my luck really there in terms of getting on the brakes slightly late. I'm feeling quite aggressive at this point of the race, to be honest. I feel like there is a 4th place up for grabs, and so I am just trying to show my nose a little bit to try and put off Thompson really up ahead of me, more than imagining that I could have made a move stick into that right-hander there. Nevertheless, we are within half a second of the car up ahead, and we're going to be coming into the heavy braking zone of the chicane soon, so there might be another proper opportunity coming up if I can get alongside. But again, we drift wide, and that time we do pick up an incident point. We've managed to keep our foot in though. We're going to show to the inside, but we just can't get alongside. We were coming from too far back, and we need to avoid contact, so I didn't keep that move going right to the apex. I backed out of it. We're going to come around then for another lap. Only 2 minutes left in this race. We don't duck to the inside this time, but look at that, up ahead of us JVB has ran wide. We're going to take the normal exit to the corner. He rejoins just behind us, so we've actually got up ahead of him. He's thrown away 4th position, and we've got a nice run coming into Eau Rouge if we can just keep it neat and tidy through the corner, which we just about do. We avoid a slowdown penalty by riding the curbs, nearly out of control, but we just about held it. And we've got a brilliant run now on Thompson as we close in towards the end of the Kemmel Straight. He's going to defend to the inside, so we're going to have to try and go around the outside here. We're side by side through the right-hander. That's going to compromise us into the next part of the corner. He tries the switchback move, and he's just nudging ahead around the outside. We give him plenty of room. We're still side by side. Look at the radar in the middle of the screen as we come into the hairpin, but we've got the high ground, and that is going to be the move done as we park it on the apex on the exit of the corner, and he cannot get past us. Wow, what an exchange that was. Fantastic. That might be the best overtake I've made in RaceRoom. Let's take a little look back then at the action that led up to that overtake in detail then. So that was us coming into the first corner of the lap, making a challenge on the car ahead, but not really being close enough to get alongside JVB at that point. We do manage to stay close enough though as we come onto the Kemmel Straight to make a realistic challenge into the braking zone at the end of it. So we come to the inside, but he himself is lining up a move on Thompson, and he makes that stick brilliantly on the inside and just gets around then the outside of the second part of the corner. We have to hang back because there really is no room for us through there. We come to the inside to try and show at the hairpin, but there's no way we're going to get down from that far back his inside. So we flip to the next lap. We think about a move down into the right-hander, but then we think better of it, and actually we're going to prioritise the coming corners. Unbeknownst to us, JVB was already running wide. That gives us 5th position as a bit of a freebie really, and it also puts us right onto the back of Thompson as we come now through Eau Rouge and up into Radion. Once again, we've got a fantastic run through that corner. We're now going to be right underneath his rear wing. He's going to show nice and early to the inside, an absolutely textbook defensive maneuver here. He gives himself plenty of room to get into the apex, but we're slightly later on the brakes and we brave it out around the outside. I know that's going to compromise us through the next part of the corner, but I'm going to try and keep my foot in on the inside while giving him plenty of space on the exit, which I do. And then we're going to be side by side still for 3rd corner in a row, but that ultimately is where the move ends as we have the high ground into the hairpin. I can park it on the apex, and there really is nothing Thompson can do about it at that stage, as I've gone from 6th to 4th in the space of half a lap. We've got one more lap left then of this race as we come back to the live action. We just closed the door at the first corner then of the final lap. That is going to give us a better run out of that corner than Thompson behind us, as we're going to go through Rouge and Radion for the final time. I just have to keep it nice and tidy here, not lose too much speed. Perhaps I actually took it a little bit too cautiously, as Thompson has come flying through that corner, and look at him in our rear view mirror, he's closing right in. We're going to come to the inside this time to defend. He's on our outside, look at the radar at the bottom of the screen, he's actually just a nose ahead. We stick to the apex though, and he backs right out of it. I'm really surprised about that. I thought he would try and hang it round the outside like we did just the lap earlier, but he thinks better of it. He didn't fancy going side by side through that corner, and he got out of the accelerator early. That's allowed us to consolidate where we are at the moment. We're going to come through the corner with No Name nice and tidy, get a good exit from there. And we've now got to get through Pouon and the rest of this lap in one piece, and just make sure that the car that's looming in my rear view mirror doesn't get another chance to get alongside. His best chance is going to come into the bus stop chicane, so that's the corner I've got to prepare for. I've got to have enough of a gap back to him that he doesn't fancy a late lunge into the chicane, which, you know, at best might mean that he gets past us, at worst might mean that we come together and that we both lose positions. We have a nice run then through the end of the second sector into the third sector of the lap, and now it's all just about getting our line right through this back straight and into the bus stop chicane. We've got a gap back then to Thompson of about half a second, so we've got, it's going to be marginal basically. We don't have that much of a buffer as I might have liked. He shows to the inside nice and early, but we then just break into the apex of the corner. We get a decent entry, but then a poor exit, and we're up onto the curb on the outside. We get a warning flag, but there's no time penalty, thank goodness, so I don't have to get off the accelerator. I cut back across the track and just close him off from being able to get past us, but he finished a 1/10 of a second behind us. Let's take a look back then finally at this final lap and the defensive action that we had to deploy in order to keep Thompson behind us. We're on the left hand side of this shot as you're looking at it then, coming into the inside of the corner. Thompson could have ran us around the outside there, but he thought better of it. He got off the gas, and that allowed me then to resume the racing line and consolidate the position. And then finally into the bus stop chicane. We hug to the apex nicely, but we get a poor exit. It's the worst exit we've had all race. Clearly the pressure got to me just a little bit, but we were able nevertheless to hang on to a fantastic fourth position. Really pleased with that, having started down in 10th to come home in the top 4. Maybe on a different day we might have even got a podium out of that. I've got to say, because I didn't get into this during the race, these cars are fantastic. High downforce, loads of horsepower, V8 engine. Give them a go if you get the chance, and I will see you next time.